Good morning everyone and welcome back to Morning Markets here at True Potential. It's Wednesday the 29th of November. Today we're going to cover the recent fall in bond yields and also the recent move in global oil prices and what that's reflecting. Over the last week or so, we've had a number of central bankers, both from the Bank of England and from the European Central Bank, try and push back against market expectations for rate cuts likely to begin in the spring of next year. However, the most prominent interventions have actually come from US policymakers. Governor Bowman, who has a vote, has indicated that she sees an additional rate hike at the meeting of the Federal Reserve in 2 weeks. However, this largely reflects a stale view that the committee presented back in September. A more prescient view is from Governor Waller, who also has a vote. He has indicated that because of the path of inflation recently, rate cuts would be more appropriate given their framework sometime around the turn of next year. And this is what has encouraged markets and caused the recent fall in bond yields, that is, a rise in bond prices. And this largely reflects that inflation has continued to surprise on the downside to the Federal Reserve, and in 2 weeks they're likely to revise down their forecast for inflation again. And they may even have to revise up their forecast for unemployment. And together that should reflect a more lower path for interest rates over the next year. And this has been encouraging for asset prices over the last few weeks. Elsewhere, and just as importantly for inflation, is the outlook for oil markets. OPEC, the official cartel which controls the production of Brent in global markets, has been putting through a number of production cuts over the last 12 months. And those cuts have actually been extended by voluntary cuts from both Saudi Arabia and Russia. And the reason they're doing that is because the global demand for oil has actually cooled over the last 12 months and is likely to remain lower than was hoped next year. The ongoing dispute within OPEC is about the nature of further cuts and who should bear the burden. Some of the more peripheral members of OPEC wish to increase their production levels, and this would mean that the burden for further cuts would fall on Saudi Arabia. This is more difficult there because they're currently enduring a rather large contraction in GDP growth. And of course, any further cuts from Saudi Arabia are being met by production increases by US markets. So the main beneficiary of the ongoing OPEC stance is the US, which is increasing its market share and taking more revenue from higher global oil prices. And this is the conundrum that OPEC faces this week. So we're likely to see an extension of ongoing production cuts led by Saudi Arabia and by Russia. And this is likely to have a more nuanced impact on inflation. We saw a spike in some inflation markets over the autumn as the oil price rose above $85 a barrel. However, we're unlikely to see any surprise to markets which would lead to a further spike in oil prices. So OPEC is likely to extend its production cuts in the face of cooling global demand, and we're likely to see an update from the Federal Reserve in 2 weeks, which is more reflective of the downside inflation surprises we've seen over the last few months. That's all for today, but please do join us tomorrow for further updates on markets. Thank you.